Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Welcome to another episode of Inside the Firm. This is our first episode of 2025. Happy you're here. We are basically going to answer for you how robots can or cannot solve the housing crisis. We got a great show. We're going to look at spending in construction, look at tariffs and the history of tariffs. And before we do so, it's 2025. That means that you should get on a rocket ship. And the rocket ship you should get on is Revit Rocket Ship. This way, you and your team can be on the same page of how to model like it gets built. You get our template and our training so that everyone can reap more reward because they are more responsible in their modeling, and it's smoother, and it's a system for making construction less hard. Go to revitrocketship.com. Check it out.
Can't find the product data you're looking for? You might be using the wrong search engine. Broad searches result in consumer products, out-of-date information, and websites that hide or don't have the information you're looking for. If you need specifications, CAD or BIM, arcat.com is your search engine. Find and download the up-to-date data you need fast. arcat.com is free and requires no registration, so try Arcat today. That's arcat.com. Al, back to you.
All right, pull up private residential construction spending inches up in November.
Got it.
And if you scroll down to the chart.
Oh, we're good friends of the National Association of Home Builders.
Yay. Basically, it has three lines, and the bottom goes from 2003 to 2024. And then on the left vertical, it goes from 0 to 600. These are probably in, millions of dollars, probably multiple millions of dollars. Let's see if it says so. Doesn't say so easily. But anyways, the three lines are single family spending. Mm-hmm. Gray line is improvements, and red line is multifamily. So if we just look at 2024 going into 2025, the blue line, which is single family, is probably about 175, right, at that level.
Yep.
Multifamily is way, way more. I expected them to be more even. It's probably at 450. And what I didn't know, what was surprising to me, was that improvements match roughly multifamily spending at about 450.
Maybe the lesson here is, again, a sort of you need to have your a three-legged stool, right? You can't put your eggs all in one basket, single family. Multifamily's been in the tank. I think we're doing one project right now. Not a huge driver of economic success over at F9 last year. Next year, hopefully it'll pop up. But the improvement, man, I have 7 proposals going out today. Wow. 7. I did a recount. I was like, I forgot about that. Those 2. What a goofball.
Yep. I had 1 yesterday and 2 today.
That's a lot. That's 10 to start the first week of 2025. And over half of mine are remodels. Just improving.
But, I mean, the chart makes it make sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so don't sleep on those remodels. I like remodels. You just got to do your due diligence. You got to make sure you prime the pump with your clients and tell them, like, hey, there's going to be surprises.
Yeah.
Yes. We can't catch everything.
Yes, there are surprises. Man, I wonder. So we have a construction contract that we're going through, and one of the things that we have is a whole list of like client acknowledges. I wonder if there should be. I don't want to overdo it on our architectural contract, but like client acknowledges.
I've been thinking about it too.
And there's probably a couple we can just take and modify from the construction side.
I literally was driving yesterday and thought of that. Should be. Because I came from a very highly contentious meeting yesterday, and it was like the GC that I met with actually said to my face, he goes, this space was small enough, you should have caught everything. I was like, and the sentence before that, he agreed you can't catch everything. I mean, the guy was I had him on his toe. I had him on his heels, but good Lord,
yeah. Exactly.
Is it worth it though to put the? I know, but then I think I do this all the time with her. I'm like, okay, are we? You can't. There's I think we did one episode where it was like there's 1 or 2% of your clients in lifetime will never be satisfied, ever. Like,
Oh,
they're
yes. Yep.
statistically true. Like, you can't. Nothing's perfect, right?
Yep.
So then, like, in that 2% of time that it happened, that the bad stuff happened, whatever it was, and potentially, and if they fall into that category of bad client, like, do you apply that to 98%?
Is it worth bothering the rest?
And
who
just
would never
triggering them in a weird way? Like, imagine reading that contract.
Yep.
For the construction one, I think it's absolutely necessary to do some of this client
because there's way
acknowledges.
more risk, and it happens way more frequently, and people aren't like. So
Unpack that, would you? Like, what
Yeah.
do you mean way more risk?
oh,
And frequently. I believe you. I want to know more.
here's the risk in architecture. So you can't find something. There's a miss. Whatever. Okay, we will update the drawings. We will find the solution and fix it for free.
Yeah.
That takes some hours worth of work. Blah blah blah. There you go. It's done. Even if it was a big thing, like, oh, we have to like redesign something like that. It's just hours worth of work. In construction, hey, I'm gonna make up an example that hasn't happened. Like, this steel came in wrong and it can't be used. It can't be used, and they won't take it back.
Yeah.
And it's $40,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Big difference.
Yep.
Big difference for
Yep.
sure.
And then the other thing too is like, here's the risk. For some reason, clients, and maybe they have their fingers more in the construction process because it's real and they can see it. And I don't think everyone understands things in drawings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, they're like, okay, yeah, that looks good. Move the bed over there, right? But when they're out there and they're like, why is your framer putting up the sideways with two hands instead of one hand? It's like, why did you think you should suggest that they use one hand to put up,
Yeah.
like, it's just weird how they get more into it.
It is. Yeah.
While you're looking that up, I want
Thank you.
NHAB to make a graph for me, because all this, how much housing is spent, like how much money is spent, that still doesn't get to, like, is it wasteful money?
Oh.
All that. I want how many square foot and then the cost of that square foot. Like, that's the chart that I want to see. How many square foot is happening each year, and then the cost of that square foot.
Oh man, why it just won't go right to the link that I want every time? Is a little frustrating. So,
There it is. There it is. Right there. Right
Perfect.
there. Yep.
Perfect. Okay.
And then, you could click on that to explode it. But read it first, Lance.
Mark Anderson on Twitter.
Andreessen.
Andreessen. Why do I do that every time?
You say it
I'm
wrong?
sorry, Mark Andreessen. This is the second time I've done this to you. I'm so sorry.
If you,
Mark Andreessen.
He's been on a couple different podcasts.
That's
lately,
why I've mispronounced his name from the podcast.
and he's just been crushing it.
I bet.
Been
good.
crushing it.
He says, this was tweeted last year, December 30th, 2024. This is a really remarkable chart of tariffs as percent of total federal revenue. The second industrial revolution, perhaps the most fertile era for technology development and deployment in human history, was 1870 to 1914.
So I'll explain the chart.
Yeah.
So on the left hand, going vertical, you have from 0% to 100%. So this is how much percent of the federal receipts.
Revenue.
Yep. Receipts, revenue. Yep.
Oh.
Were as a percent of the government's money, right? For tariffs, for tariffs.
Oh.
How much did tariffs do? And then it goes from 1789 all the way to 2020 about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought when Trump talked about this too, like, yeah, tariffs used to make up a big percentage of, funding our government. I thought, I didn't look into it.
You
It's
thought
like,
quarter.
no.
Like
I thought like, okay, the year the revolution happened, I'm sure we were like, hey, Brits, you want to send us stuff? Tariffs. You know what I mean? Just like 100, like, screw you,
Right, because
Brits.
the economy was like not complex, not as complex then.
Yeah.
It was like a little bit more simple.
Yep. And they probably like, hey,
trade.
this is how we'll pay for stuff. We'll just make we'll just put tariffs on stuff. So I thought like maybe for 4 to 6 years they did that, and they had a government that was like 10 people.
Oh, and
right.
maybe he's cherry picking this data point.
Yep. Okay, for 5 years in history when we had 10 people running the federal government,
Yeah.
right? But basically what this graph does is that it goes from 1789, and if you go all the way to about 1860, which was when the war was, the Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
it hovers between 100% and basically 80%. There's a couple other dips, but 100% to 80%. The reason why it probably went down in the 60s is because the war probably costs way too much.
Of course.
Right? Wars are not cheap. Then from 1860, which was the Revolutionary War, to about 1910, and this is the area he was talking about, the Second Industrial Revolution. It hovered around 50% of our government was paid through by tariffs. Then in 1910, 1912, probably the First World War, it went down. The World War I probably cost a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Oh, this is crazy. Then it
totally correlates with the wars.
And then it stabilizes back at about 15%. And then guess what happened in around 1940? Was there another war?
Another war.
And then it shot all the way down to what? 2%? 3%?
I mean, if you're a chart reader like me, where you draw the lines and just make up patterns.
Yeah. It's called technical analysis.
Pardon me, it's called technical analysis. I think we're consolidating and we're due for a rise here. We're due for a little candlestick.
Yeah.
Frankly.
So you texted me.
I bought Bitcoin 2 times in the last 2 weeks, just so you know.
So
excited about it.
I don't know if you troll me when you send me your technical analysis.
No, these are real.
and
ChatGPT looked it up, Al.
I always just say haha or whatever. I don't know who else was on the text thread
Bill.
too. But I was like,
No,
okay.
D.
Yeah, D. It was D. Okay, your technical analysis of whether this is going to be whatever. It's like, what time frame are you deciding to look at your chart?
Exactly. It's like,
is this 2 days, 2 hours, or 2 months?
What set of data did I pick to manipulate to my liking? That's it.
Exactly.
Scientific.
The reason I bring this up, one is because it's topical and I did not know.
And people are worried about tariffs.
And people are worried
be.
about tariffs.
Yeah.
And the second reason is people are worried. We talk about construction, a lot of stuff. A lot of steel comes from overseas. Biden just nixed Japan steel company taking over U.S. Steel. I actually think that's a good move. Thank you, Biden.
Thank you, Biden.
Because most of the steel isn't it crazy that a lot of steel comes from China?
Yeah.
Like they ship, like it seems so heavy. It's like, okay, we do have the raw materials. We had the plants. Like that has to be way cheaper. Like moving things by weight has to be just astronomically expensive. Nope. China has undercut the market, made a whole bunch of investments. Obviously, the whole trade situation going back to the 90s has kind of came back to bite us in the butt because our manufacturing is gutted. Now we're trying to get semiconductors back. The main problem, honestly, is mining all this stuff. And the federal government is just terrible in approving pipelines. And they're just terrible. Yeah. 10 years. So, like, if we can't mine this stuff here, what? You're going to mine it somewhere else, ship all that stuff, then put it in a factory here? No. You got to be able to mine it here.
Yeah.
Or Canada. I mean, the 51st state. Whatever it's called.
Hopefully it'll be a 51st state. That's what I'm excited for.
I know there's some Canadian listeners. I don't know if that triggers them or not. I bet it does.
If it's the ones we attract, I don't think so. I think they're probably on board to get away from that terrible Trudeau. Okay, last one I've got, which is the title of the show here today, is Can Robots Solve the Housing Crisis? Why is the internet... There we go. Can robots solve the housing crisis? So I had a really interesting meeting yesterday with a couple that hopefully will be doing the 4th 3D printed concrete house in Colorado, and we are hopefully going to help them do that the 4th and the 5th. But so I started thinking about their prime. I asked them during our little meeting yesterday. I had to know, like, why did you guys get into this? Because when I got the call from, he's a repeat client. I got the call like 2 weeks ago. And first of all, I answered the phone and I said, "Hey," and I said his name, and he was like, "Whoa!" I mean, he was shocked that I knew his name somehow. Still, I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, you're one of my favorite clients of all time."
Yeah.
And we just like really, we're like pals at this point. Mm-hmm. And I know him and his wife pretty well, and they were like, I was like, "Why did you guys get into 3D printing?" And the story is not as like interesting as you would think from my but tangentially they did say like, well, like everybody knows that it is housing crisis. Everybody knows that like affordability is a big problem. And they knew that Habitat, one of the chapters in Colorado, is Habitat Humanity chapters, is saying for these next 7 houses that are doing, I can't remember where it's at, doesn't matter, somewhere in NoCo, like they have to be 3D concrete printed.
Nice.
Yeah. So they like are filling a demand and everything. Anyway, we talked about the housing crisis, but then there's also the robot side of it. And that's kind of what they're doing, right? Like the way they describe their 3D printing machine to me, it sounds like a robot. It's on a big gantry thing.
And before we get into this, like the next thing I want, because you still have to trusses and you have to put a roof on. I want, the companies that make modular homes, like, no, I just want a roof system and I want you to put on the EPDM or the metal roof or whatever. Let's say it's a shed or a gable or whatever, and just ship it to me and we'll just crane it and we'll put it up.
Look, and I like the shape he's making, that little shed roof action.
You know what I mean?
Simple,
Because
clean.
like while it's being printed, like, okay, hey, we want the roof. Here's the size. Here's the layers. Don't make me a whole house. Just make me a roof. Just put it.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Then we solved that problem too.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the title of the this is an article about a month old from the Times. Can robots solve the housing crisis? A startup thinks its portable robotic arms can build homes faster and cheaper than humans. Will it revolutionize the construction industry? It's got a cool graphic, probably made by AI. Yeah. A Victorian-era warehouse under scruffy East London Railway Bridge, surrounded by bins and pallets, seems like an unlikely location for a housing crisis to be solved. Yet, after being buzzed through the gates at 16A Cudworth Street, a 5-minute walk from Whitechapel Tube Station, I find myself in the nerve center of automated architecture. A 2-year-old startup founded by Molly Claypole, 39, and American and Belgian Giles Reston, 38, who think they may have cracked how we build homes in the future using robots rather than bricklayers. Claypool and Reston's project may sound far-fetched and futuristic, but automation experts have said for years that modernization of this industry is desperately needed. One of the things I thought that they said that was hilarious about it, so we're going to pull up their little...
London town. That's how you have to say it. London town.
Yeah, because I think they have like a little... Is it going to play, or are you just going to be weird? It's going to be weird. I don't know what's going on with the internet today. We can't play the little video they have. That's fine. But the funniest thing I thought that they said in here, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you guys, perfect, it was in the next paragraph. In an era when robots have been commonplace within other industries, such as car production lines or farms milking cows, house building is one of the last Luddite holdouts, with building sites bearing striking similarities to the Victorian era. We really have, it's messy. It's like messy. I don't know how I feel about this because like I have 2 big thoughts. And the first one is a large portion of X reacting to Elon Musk over the last week. There's a lot of American First people on there arguing with him about all this H-1B1 visa stuff.
Yeah.
Elon Musk had this very specific argument that he's only trying to bring in the best of the best. Whereas but I think the American First people had they have just as good of an argument on the opposite side, going like, yeah, I know that's your intent, but that's not how it's going to be used. You're going to bring in everybody. And like, do we need everybody? And then you start having that whole third rail discussion, right? And with that third rail discussion, it's like, well, we don't have a lot of low-skilled labor right now. Or at least maybe we do and people just don't want to work. I don't know. It's hard to find help. It's hard to find help overall. So then, like, the ultimate solution maybe for both of those is, like, is it worth, though? Like, where do you draw the line? Is it, like, should we just have the robots replacing the humans? And then what do the humans do? And then I become like Ted Kaczynski, very Luddite about it. And I go, I don't know about that. Like at some point, and I'm a capitalist, but the money over people stuff.
What's crazy is, like, I'm not a fan of UBI.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. But...
And for what universal basic income is what I was talking about. Like, that would be the solution if you started putting people out of work.
Yep. But I'm also not a fan of the argument against it. Here's the
go for it. Yeah.
Here's the biggest argument against it is, like, one of them is with UBI, what you get is you free up everyone to pursue their passions, right? And they can all become artists and do what they and work on what they love.
My son will be he's going to be the best Spotify sound rapper of all time.
And we kind of found out, hey, in COVID, in California and New York and other, they did not do that. They literally sat in their parents' basement or in their own basement or had sleepovers and did almost absolutely nothing. Like absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. So you can't sell UBI that you're going to get this art revolution or anything like that. No. But people then paint that. That's the argument against it, is that, oh, it's bad because people are just going to be playing video games and getting high and doing absolutely nothing, right? And that's terrible. Well, I don't know if that's true because some people might. Think about retirement. Like, is retirement bad? Like, my parents are retired. Like, my dad just, I don't know, walks around the house and fixes things and then goes to church and power washes it. Like, that seems all right.
Yeah.
You know, so like,
it power washes the church?
Yeah, that's what he does.
Amazing. Okay.
That's
how to watch that church.
Yep, exactly. So like, I don't find those as good arguments of like against it.
Yeah.
Because this is what I think will happen. This is why I'm against it, is that for UBI, the rich people aren't going to pay for it. All the poor, lazy people are just going to literally retire at 20 and do absolutely nothing. And there will still be this group of middle people that need to make the world function. And it will be us. And then we will be working and then paying for these other people to call us in Texas like, hey, you want to come to the lake now? I'll be like, no, like, I literally have to make society run. And fuck you for making me do this.
Yeah.
And you get to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe where the full circle here is, I've further on in the article, there's a chart here that I've got pulled up, and it says UK construction workers in the millions, and that's the title of it. And the left-hand side has got all the millions. It starts like 2 million, goes, and then left to right it goes from 2002 to 2024. The number of builders is the lowest ever, even smaller than seen during pandemic lockdowns. So there's going to be a robotic solution that people are going to try to solve this problem.
Hopefully
with a robotic solution, right? It's very obvious. I mean, now there's going to be soon in 2025 3 companies in Colorado, one of which hopefully we'll be working for, that are printing 3D houses. And then there's also there's the human solution, right? Where it's like, okay, we're going to bring in high and low skilled immigrants. Like, and even if we do it through the legal process, let's say we switch back in 2028, 2029 to the other political party and they just open the gates again. And then they come in, so they come in that way.
13.5 million.
Yeah, I know.
Just let you know. In case you did not know, 13.5 million in 4 years, record amount. The H-1B visa program is $65,000 a year. It would literally take.
Oh, see, this is my point. Yeah,
it would literally take 200 years.
Yeah.
Of vetted people to equal what they let through the doors when the border was secure, and why. Literally, there's no other way to get 13.5 million people besides letting them. I won't plant in your head why that happened, because there's probably multiple different reasons, but just you should know that as facts. Those are facts.
Yep. So you, business owner listening to this show, likely an architect who maybe has heard Lance and Al over and over again say, you should try building at least once. Maybe you should actually diversify and like also become a builder. The demand is there, right? Like if you just look at even this chart in the UK, and I guarantee there's a similar chart for it in the United States. So no matter what, like if you want to talk about job and firm security, you are making a big mistake if you're not diversifying and putting your little hat in the ring there and doing it and taking just a little tiny dent out of the problem that we're seeing with the lack of builders and stuff like that. All of the 3 circumstances I just described, the illegal immigration, the legal immigration, and then the robot stuff.
Robots.
The stoic approach is like, nope, all that's going to happen. I can't change it. You literally can't. I'm not joking. Your one little vote, sure, like do what you want. you won for 4 years, but then you see how easily the next 4 years can just get wiped away and all of this stuff. Like, so the real Marcus Aurelius stoic approach to this is you go to architectsguide2.com and you learn how to become a builder, and you reach out to Lance and Al, and you do it. You do it.
Here's why. Go back to Ion Housing article. Pull up that graph about the residential spending in the 3 different areas. There is single family, there is multifamily, and there is improvement. Improvement spending on money is just as high as multifamily.
Oh.
The problem, the hard thing with this that you alluded to that we can help solve is that a lot of improvements are small projects.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it a lot of times to do these small projects just on the architecture side because your fee's so low. You still have to go through the process. The bureaucracy is a nightmare. Hopefully they get better, but they won't unless something drastic happens. So you are basically churning through these projects. You're working hard and you're barely making it not enough. Unless you pair it with, I also do the construction side.
Yeah. And then I
also do the construction side. So
Yeah.
now your fee went from that 5 to 7% just of architecture. On top of that, 15 to 20%. Now you're at 25% of the project. Now it makes sense.
And remodels aren't going away. How exciting is that?
BuildABetterCo.com also includes
And you got to wonder, like,
architect to
if
builder.
I had to look at, like, okay, back to this chart, right? The 3 parts. I bet multifamily and single family will be the most affected by the robots, right? They will.
Multifamily. Yep.
The
for sure.
robots are
First.
Robots are going to come in and they're going
Say it right,
to take
robots.
a big chunk. Robots, sorry. But the remodels and improvement, like, I don't know. Do we want robots in the house? Do we want some of these strange workers in the house? Or do we want, like, the reliable people that you can trust and shake their hands with? There's a huge niche, I think, here. There's an opening, guys. This is like positive news in the end. We're showing you the positive part of the law of polarity here.
But you're absolutely right. When you make multifamily new projects, even some single family, build wall robot. Build wall. When you do additions, you open up a wall, you're like, what in the world did they do here?
Yeah, you don't want a robot, actually. Think about it. You actually don't want a robot flopping around getting crazy on you, trying to making decisions.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right, that's what we got for your first episode of 2025. If you like this episode, leave a positives comment on the YouTube, like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We'll see you next week.